Have you ever felt exhausted from always trying to please others? You say yes when you want to say no. You hold back your true feelings to avoid conflict. You put others before yourself so often that you forget your own needs. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Being a nice person is often praised as a virtue. We are taught that kindness, patience, and self-sacrifice are the marks of good character. But what if I told you that this very niceness could be quietly destroying your happiness and success? Many people who are too nice end up feeling frustrated, invisible, and powerless. They're taken advantage of because they don't set clear boundaries. Their generosity is mistaken for weakness. They carry the emotional burden of others without receiving the same support in return. This is the hidden danger of being too nice. It's not just about being kind or polite. It's about the cost of people-pleasing when it becomes a habit that controls your life. When you sacrifice your voice, your time, and your energy just to avoid disappointing others, you lose connection with yourself. Psychologists have studied this pattern, often calling it people-pleasing or codependency. It stems from deep-rooted fears: fear of rejection, fear of conflict, and fear of being unloved. These fears push us to put everyone else's needs before our own. But here's the truth. People who constantly try to please everyone end up pleasing no one, not even themselves. In fact, excessive niceness can backfire. When you never express your true feelings or set boundaries, others start to take you for granted. Your respect decreases and your influence fades. This dynamic can happen in friendships, families, workplaces, and even romantic relationships. If you want to live a balanced, fulfilling life, you must understand that being nice is not enough. You need to be strategic about your kindness. Let's take a moment to consider one of the most insightful thinkers about human nature, Niccolo Machiavelli. He lived over 500 years ago, but his ideas about power and human behavior are still relevant today. Machiavelli was not advocating cruelty. Instead, he argued that being good or kind without strength and strategy leaves you vulnerable. He said a leader must sometimes be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to scare off threats. In other words, kindness must be balanced with wisdom and boundaries. This principle applies to everyday life as well. It's not about abandoning your kindness or becoming cold-hearted. It's about learning to say no, when to protect yourself, and when to stand your ground. Being nice should never mean being a doormat. Another important figure, Carl Jung, talked about the importance of integrating all parts of yourself, including your shadow side. This means acknowledging your anger, your limits, and your needs instead of suppressing them. If you ignore this, your nice behavior becomes a mask that hides your true self. Over time, this mask can suffocate your identity and happiness. So how do you stop being too nice without losing your kindness? The first step is awareness. Recognize how being overly accommodating affects your life. Notice when you feel resentful, tired, or unheard. The second step is learning to set boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your emotional and physical well-being. Saying no is not selfish, it's necessary. The third step is to accept that not everyone will like or approve of your new boundaries. That's okay. Your self-worth should not depend on constant approval. In this video series, we'll dive deeper into these ideas. We'll explore practical ways to reclaim your voice, build self-respect, and maintain kindness without sacrificing your needs. For now, remember this: being nice is not the same as being weak. Strength and kindness can coexist. You deserve to live a life where your kindness is a choice, not a burden. You've probably heard phrases like, "nice guys finish last," or "being too nice makes you a pushover." But it's more than just a cliche. Being excessively nice can quietly sabotage your life in ways you don't even notice. When you prioritize others' feelings over your own, you often lose sight of your needs, your boundaries, and your personal power. You become what some call an emotional doormat, always available, always accommodating, but rarely respected. One reason this happens is fear. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being disliked. So you suppress your true feelings, swallow your anger, and put on a smile even when you're hurting inside. Over time, this constant self-denial drains your energy and erodes your self-esteem. Let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries are essential because they define what you will and won't accept in life. But when you're too nice, you tend to let boundaries slip. You say yes to things that don't serve you. You tolerate disrespect and overcommit yourself. People who lack boundaries don't just hurt themselves, they teach others it's okay to cross them. In other words, excessive kindness can unintentionally encourage bad behavior from others. Studies in psychology show that people who fail to set clear boundaries often experience more stress, anxiety, and even depression. This is because they feel powerless, overwhelmed, and invisible. They struggle to express their needs and feel guilty when they try. On the other hand, setting boundaries is a form of self-respect. It sends a clear message. I value myself enough to protect my time, energy, and emotions. And surprisingly, people respect you more when you stand up for yourself, not less. Another way being too nice can hurt you is by stifling your authenticity. When you constantly try to please everyone, you lose touch with who you really are. Your identity becomes shaped by what others want, not by your true desires. This kind of emotional masking makes it harder to form genuine connections. People sense when you're not being yourself. They might like your nice behavior, but they don't really know you. And deep down, you feel lonely, misunderstood, and frustrated. So, how do you break free from this cycle? First, you need to recognize that kindness and strength are not opposites. You can be compassionate and still be firm. You can care about others without sacrificing your own well-being. Next, start practicing small acts of self-assertion. Say no when something doesn't feel right. Speak up about your needs. Express your opinions honestly, even if they might upset someone. These steps build your confidence and redefine your relationships. Remember, the goal is not to become cold or harsh. It's to find a healthy balance where kindness is a choice, not a burden. In the next part, we'll explore how to build this balance and why embracing your power can transform your life without losing your heart. When we talk about setting boundaries, many people worry about feeling selfish or guilty. But boundaries aren't about being selfish. They're about protecting your well-being. Without boundaries, kindness becomes self-sacrifice, and that's neither healthy nor sustainable. First, understand what boundaries really mean. Boundaries are limits you set to protect your emotional, physical, and mental space. They tell others what is acceptable behavior towards you and what isn't. People often feel guilty because they were never taught to respect themselves first. Society sometimes praises selflessness without explaining that you can't pour from an empty cup. The key to healthy boundaries is communication. When you say no, you don't need to justify yourself endlessly. A simple, "I'm sorry, I can't do that right now," is enough. You owe no explanation beyond that. Another important aspect is recognizing your own needs. Ask yourself regularly, what do I want? What makes me uncomfortable? What drains me? What energizes me? The more you listen to yourself, the easier it becomes to set clear boundaries. A big challenge is dealing with pushback from others. When you start saying no or standing up for yourself, some people might resist. They may accuse you of being rude or selfish. This is natural because they're used to the old dynamic. But here's a truth many overlook. If someone truly cares about you, they will respect your boundaries. If they don't, it's a sign to rethink that relationship. Boundaries also help improve your self-esteem. Every time you protect your limits, you reinforce your sense of worth. You're telling yourself, I matter. Building boundaries takes practice. Start small. Say no to little things first, then gradually address bigger issues. Over time, this becomes easier and your confidence grows. A quote from Carl Jung might help here. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Setting boundaries is part of that process, letting go of who you think you should be and embracing your true self. Finally, remember that kindness without boundaries leads to resentment. You might be nice to others, but if you're constantly hurting yourself in the process, nobody wins. Now that we understand the importance of boundaries and why being too nice can harm us, let's talk about embracing your personal power through assertiveness. Assertiveness is the ability to express your thoughts, feelings, and needs openly and honestly, without aggression or passivity. It's the middle ground between being a doormat and being a bully. Why is assertiveness so powerful? Because it helps you live authentically. When you're assertive, you're not hiding your true self to please others. You're honoring your feelings and values while respecting others' rights too. Many people confuse assertiveness with being aggressive, but aggressive behavior attacks or blames, while assertiveness states your truth calmly and clearly. Here's an example. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," which sounds blaming, you can say, "I feel unheard when you interrupt me." This expresses your feelings without attacking the other person. Being assertive improves your relationships. It creates honest communication, reduces misunderstandings, and builds mutual respect. People tend to respond better when you speak openly. In the workplace, assertiveness leads to better opportunities. You can negotiate salary, delegate tasks, or give feedback confidently. This helps you grow professionally and personally. However, many struggle with assertiveness because of fear of rejection, conflict, or judgment. This fear often comes from childhood or past experiences where being assertive was punished or discouraged. To overcome this fear, start with small steps. Practice expressing your opinions with trusted friends or family. Role-play difficult conversations. Remind yourself that your voice matters. Remember Niccolò Machiavelli's insight. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. Assertiveness is about being both strong and smart. Finally, embrace the fact that your well-being matters. When you assert yourself, you're not only helping yourself, you're also teaching others how to treat you. You create healthier, more balanced relationships. Being nice is a beautiful quality, but when it's taken too far, it can harm you. By setting boundaries and being assertive, you reclaim your power while still caring for others.